One of the longest-running rumors on the TV news circuit came true last night when NBC announced it's replacing David Gregory on Meet the Press, handing the reins over to White House correspondent Chuck Todd. Meet the Press has been in a ratings free fall over the last year, but in truth, it's never been the same since Tim Russert's death in 2008.
From NBC News in Washington.
In April, when NBC News president Deborah Turnus called rumors of David Gregory's demise as host of Meet the Press quite ludicrous, I guess we shouldn't have taken her quite so seriously.
This is Meet the Press with David Gregory.
David Gregory assumed the reins of Meet the Press shortly after legendary longtime host Tim Russert died in 2008.
This is Meet the Press with Tim Russert.
Russert was both revered and reviled in Washington, where some claimed he was as much of an insider as those he covered.
I begin to wonder when Mr. Russert will declare his candidacy.
Regardless, his ratings spoke volumes, killing the competition by almost 2-1.
So what do you do now?
Meanwhile, Gregory's departure was apparently confrontational and acrimonious. He's not doing this Sunday show, tweeting this last night. I leave NBC as I came, humbled and grateful. I love journalism, and serving as moderator of MTP was the highest honor there is. As for the future of Meet the Press, which has been on the air since 1947, NBC President Deborah Turnus says the show remains vital. I wonder if she means quite vital. Yeah, I mean, what a mealy mouth. This was horrible. He was on vacation on Nantucket. Wow. He started thinking, wait a minute, too many rumors. This happened to me. I had first-hand experience with this. I heard rumors of my demise, and finally I had to, hey, am I being fired? This was at ABC. The same thing happened with him. He says, wait a minute, this is just too hot, gets on an airplane, goes to Washington, D.C., does the show last Sunday, and then he confronts the bosses the next day and says, well, what's up? Is this true or not? Well, yeah, you know, we were going to... Wow. But so I guess it was very ugly. And he left the network. He's been there for 22 years. I mean, it's horrible. This is just, you know, the way it is. It's like, and no offense to Chuck Todd, it's not going to make any difference. Mm-hmm. He's a really good guy. He's a good correspondent. That was the problem with David Gregory. Mm-hmm. He's a good correspondent, good sense of humor, great kind of like delivery and everything, but they're not Tim Russert.
Right, and consider what Tim Russert and two other quite successful moderators of Sunday shows, Bob Schieffer and George Stephanopoulos, all have in common. They were all political junkies. Yeah. David Gregory was not. He did cover the White House, but clearly he didn't love politics. He didn't eat, sleep, and drink politics, and it showed. His performance was flat. He was grating. I don't know the man. I guess he wasn't particularly popular there. That came through, and that's another lesson. If you're a jerk, and I don't know that he was, but if you are, the camera will show it over time. So I'd like to know, who hired him originally, whose bright idea it was, and are they still employed there, and are they going to be fired? I mean, it was a foolish decision, and I think. There's a model for how this kind of thing can work. And even though these shows overall are losing audience, they're not what they once were, there should be closer attention paid to the model going forward. And Todd, I think, fits it well.
We'll see.
Well, I think, yes, he has that. He loves politics, Chuck Todd does. But I think this problem here is it's too late. It's too late for them to try to fix it. And I was part of the losing the audience that was in free fall with David Gregory. And I think the difference is that now, it used to be you might digest the news, think about things going on, and you would wait for Sunday for there really to be a substantive conversation. Sunday morning, that's when that was held. You no longer have to do that anymore. I mean, there are so many good discussion programs that are now going on 7 nights a week, and starting with Jon Stewart and all the way through Sirius on what you have on NPR and Beat the Press and PBS. You don't have to wait for Sunday morning. I think what was happening to David Gregory was as much a result of the audience isn't waiting for Sunday now. The audience is tired by Sunday morning. And Chuck Todd, good luck to him. I'd be surprised if he can turn this around.
I think Chuck Todd is a good choice, but I was surprised by the original David Gregory choice for the reasons you said. Great reporter, never liked him in that chair. But here's the thing, they're going to have to do something different to what you've just said. And they can do something different. The reason people are not waiting for the discussion is they're finding different perspectives offered up in interesting ways in other forums. They can do that. They certainly can do that with Chuck Todd, who knows his game, knows the players. But on Sunday, don't tell me once again, here we have the president of so-and-so discussing. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. I want to hear something different that so-and-so might have to say, and a different perspective. And I think you can do that. Mix up those guests, change that show, and go forward.
Well, unfortunately, I don't think you're going to hear anything different, because I think that by picking Chuck Todd, who does bring some passion and enthusiasm to the table that David Gregory didn't have, but nevertheless, NBC's saying, we don't think there's anything wrong with the show that having a slightly better host won't fix. I'd like to see them shake it up completely. I thought Christiane Amanpour was actually moving in that direction a little bit on This Week a few years ago, and she wasn't really able to, they didn't let her continue. They let her go. But it's just going to be the same old with a somewhat better host.
Well, but the only problem with Christiane Amanpour, and I have great respect for her, is that the bulk of those shows really are focused on domestic politics.
But they don't have to be.
Well, they don't have to be, but the way that she did a whole wholesale change. Listen, most people don't know where Denver is. Come on! So you're going to have to bring people along if you're going to shake it up.
All right.
I'm just saying.